Thank you, Mr. McCall. Mr. Sherman.
Mr. Chairman, it's been an honor to serve with you on this committee for decades. You are a hero in Kosovo, you are a hero in Albania, and you are a hero in room 2172. Thank you for your years of dedication and leadership. You are leaving the committee in good hands, those of Greg Meeks and Mike McCall, and I look forward to extraordinary contributions on this committee in the future under that leadership. One observation about Kosovo, and that is America often is accused of being anti-Muslim. Nothing could be further from the truth, and nothing could illustrate that to a greater degree than the fact that we bombed a Christian country in order to preserve the Kosovars and to prevent ethnic cleansing. And that story needs to be repeated again and again throughout the Muslim world by both the United States and Kosovo. I hope that we get time to focus on Bulgaria and Greece in this hearing on the Balkans, but naturally we're focusing our attention on the former Yugoslavia. As I turn to my questions, I realize this may be the last time I ask my questions immediately after the gentleman from the Bronx, and maybe the last time I get to ask questions immediately before the gentleman from Queens. Following the 2016 coup attempt in Turkey, Erdogan blamed the followers of Imam Gulen. Bosnian officials were reportedly pressured to shutter schools that had ties to Gulen's movement. Then in 2016, 6 Turkish nationals were arrested in Kosovo and secretly extradited to Turkey. We know that there were false charges issued by the Turkish government, and as a result, journalists, human rights defenders, and politicians associated with Gulen and others who would like to see a greater degree of democracy in Turkey have been subject to pressure or arrest. Secretary Albright, does Turkey continue to pressure countries in the Balkans, both with regard to harboring any Turkish national that Erdogan doesn't like and with regard to other matters?
Congressman, I am very concerned about Turkey's behavior generally in terms of the kind of activities that Erdogan is undertaking. I hope we spend more time at some point really talking about what their role is, what's happening in NATO as a result of Turkish behavior and buying Russian arms. And I do believe that there are isolated cases of pressure that the Erdogan government is putting on other governments. But I think that one has to be very careful not to kind of fall into a trap where some people are saying that all of a sudden the Muslim population in Kosovo is being manipulated from the outside, that it is not thinking about what is happening to the people of Kosovo, but that they are under pressure. They have been dealing, I think, very positively with some people that went to fight on with ISIL and bringing some of them back in order to have them understand what has been happening in the country. But I do think that on a general answer, the role of Erdogan is something that is very troubling in so many different ways of its relationship with Greece, what it is trying to do in the Balkans, and what it is doing in the Middle East, and something that is definitely worth a closer look by this committee of yours, which has to deal with the various repercussions of it, not just in the Balkans, but generally.
And Turkish actions recently in the Caucasus. The President of Serbia has deepened military ties with Moscow. Should the United States also pursue deeper military ties with Serbia to try to wean them away from Moscow, or should we avoid that? And should Serbia be sanctioned for its purchases of Russian military equipment which could constitute a violation of U.S. sanctions laws against Russia, particularly CATSA. Madam Secretary?
Well, I do think we need to look much more at what is happening in terms of the purchase of Russian military equipment generally. I think it is something that is subject to sanctioning and trying to understand what they are buying. And I think we also need to look, and this is a really hard question in terms of not just Serbia, but as I said earlier, what Turkey is doing as a NATO member, using our arms and the Russian at the same time for activities that don't respond to what is necessary in the region. I think this is something that bears very much investigation and action by Congress.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Mr. Shabbat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My wife sent me to the post office in my district this past Saturday to buy postage stamps for our Christmas.